Hey, welcome back to the stash. Kraven the Hunter, one of Spider-Man's most dangerous foes. A man who prides himself on being the greatest hunter there is. A villain who holds the privilege of having one of the greatest stories of the 80s. He's no stranger to conflicts with the Webhead. They've fought for decades. But for today, as we go back in time to the 60s for another installment of the Sinister Saga, we're taking a look at the Amazing Spider-Man issue 15, the very first appearance of Kraven the Hunter. It's a tale crafted by the magical Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, one that will change the Wallcrawler's life forever. But hey, real quick, here at the stash, we're swinging for 20,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Now that's a tall order, I know, but with great power comes great responsibility, and all you gotta do is click subscribe. So if you're into Spider-Man or just comic book deep dives, feel free to stick around. And also be sure to stay to the very end for the return of comics from the stash. For this episode, I'll be going over some of my favourite covers of Kraven the Hunter from my very own personal comic collection. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get right back into the video. So our story begins with the Amazing Spider-Man dropping in on an unsuspecting gang of criminals. They try to make a break for it, but luckily Spider-Man thinks fast. Using his fantastic webbing, he blocks off the main exit. But as Spidey tends to the three thugs, the fourth makes a clean getaway. For as we're about to see, this isn't any ordinary thug, because he is in fact the Chameleon in disguise. A short time later, behind the bolted door of his apartment, the elusive Chameleon removes one of his many ingenious masks. He's now seen for himself that the Webhead is more dangerous than ever before, but no matter what, the Chameleon wants his revenge. The question is though, who would be the one to dispose of Spider-Man for him? It's clear the Chameleon is nowhere near a match to battle Spidey, and he's not even sure if there's a man on the planet to do the job. But then the perfect candidate enters his mind. How could he have ever forgotten one such as him? The one named Kraven the Hunter. A week later in the Daily Bugle, publisher J. Jonah Jameson storms through his doorway barking orders as usual. He tells Betty to get Peter Parker to come with him to catch the arrival of the great Kraven the Hunter. And once there, you can feel the excitement and mystery in the air. But I think it's safe to say that Peter's instead feeling a dreading sense of awkwardness more than anything else. But then, that all changes when Kraven the Hunter makes his appearance. He looks properly determined. There's a fire in his eyes that no other has. But suddenly, a fearful cry rings out, for some of the wild animals have escaped their cages. Luckily, Spider-Man is there getting changed as quickly as he can to save the day once again. But before Spidey can reach the spot, his incredulous eyes witness the greatest hunter of all time as he leaps into action. The whole crowd watches in awe as Kraven, with sheer strength and cunning, captures the gorillas. And so, seeing that Kraven has it under control, Spidey changes back into Peter Parker. But through all his observing, he forgot to do the one thing he was there for. He forgot to take pictures. Jameson can't believe his ears. But while he frets over the missed opportunity, Liz doesn't help much either by making Betty Brant even more jealous. Jonah goes after Kraven, while Peter chases from behind with his apologies falling on deaf ears. JJJ right now only cares about asking Kraven the question on everyone's lips. Why is he here? Kraven then declares that New York is a land that inhabits perhaps the most dangerous man of all. The one man worthy of Kraven's presence. The spectacular Spider-Man. Peter Parker's face drops completely. He knows he's really in for it now. Soon after, we return to the Chameleon's hideout, where we find Kraven slowly preparing for his battle with Spider-Man. And also that thanks to these secret potions, he gains uncanny strength and speed to allow himself the advantage. Then, not long afterwards, a dramatic figure prowls the rooftops of New York, observing the vast paranoia that lies below. A gunshot stabs the silent night sky, and so, without wasting a second, Spider-Man rushes to the scene. The gang runs for their freedom, but with Spidey hot on their trails, it's only a matter of time before they're all apprehended. Unbeknown to the Webhead though, Kraven the Hunter sits perched on a nearby rooftop, observing his prey to be fully ready for his hunt. The display down below gives him the perfect demonstration of the Wallcrawler's abilities and impressive skill. Because no matter how hard the gang tries, Spider-Man manages to stay one step ahead until eventually they're all knocked out cold. But as he swings past a nearby rooftop, Spidey's spider sense detects another presence. An evil presence. He's caught off guard by the Hunter's appearance. Kraven, however, wastes no time. He leaps at the wall crawler. Spider-Man jumps out of the way, but while doing so, Kraven latches onto his leg and throws him across the roof. The two then lock into battle, with Kraven gaining the upper hand through an old trusty nerve punch. Spider-Man's shoulder goes numb. He's only got one good arm, but he mustn't let that cause him defeat. And so, with just one hand, Spidey puts up one hell of a fight, one that even scares the Great Hunter. And so, using one of his special potions, Kraven cheats his way to a victory by scratching it into his bloodstream. Spider-Man starts to feel dizzy. His head spins as his body grows weaker. Then, as Spidey releases his savage foe for an instant, Kraven races away with a triumphant cry ringing from his snaring lips. Unfortunately, Spider-Man lost this battle, but at the very least, he managed to snag some picks earlier for Jameson to hopefully smooth things over with him. As Peter goes home though, his shoulder is getting back to normal, but the dizziness just seems to persist no matter what. It's been a rough day for the web-slinger. Hopefully, a good night's rest can regain him some vital strength. And while our hero gets some important sleep, the Chameleon is puzzled by the joy on Kraven's face. He said that Spider-Man is far more stronger and dangerous than he first thought, so the Chameleon is baffled by his ally being happy about it. Yet it's just something only Kraven would understand, for in turn, all it would do is make the hunt and eventual victory even greater. The next morning, Peter Parker leaps out of bed full of energy. The potion has seemed to have worn off, but the annoying handshakes still persist, so he has to carefully navigate throughout the day, from hiding the shakes from Aunt May, who's set up a blind date for Peter with a certain Miss Watson, to dealing with a jealous Betty Brant. And to make things worse, Kraven and Jameson seem to have had a pretty good chat about the end of The Amazing Spider-Man. Peter Parker sure can't catch a break. Doesn't help either when Jameson rejects his photos. Then, later in science class, the shakes continue to get the better of him. He can't control it, and so Peter accidentally drops a test tube. Glass shatters everywhere, capturing the attention of the class from the professor to his old enemy Flash Thompson. And to top it all off, the latest edition of the Daily Bugle declares that Spider-Man's days are numbered. It has certainly been a rough day for Peter, but it won't stop him from doing what has to be done. As the evening wears on Peter, he gets a brilliant idea. He plans to place a spider tracer onto Kraven. That way, he'll always know when he's about to attack him. But after changing to Spider-Man, the amazing adventurer learns that his plan will not be so easy to carry out. And so, with his hands unable to keep a steady aim, it looks like he'll have to traverse rooftops the old-fashioned way. Meanwhile, as Spider-Man searches for his savage foe, Kraven himself prepares once more for the hunt. He seems to know what the wall crawler is up to, for it is only Kraven that controls the hunt. Spidey continues his intense search until finally he sees a lonely Kraven the Hunter walking throughout the park. Little does the webhead know that the Kraven he is seeing is merely bait. The real Kraven is tagging not so far behind Spider-Man, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And then, when the time is right, a net collapses upon Spider-Man. The trap has been sprung, and even his spider strength can't rip it open. He must think of a way out, and he must do it fast. So naturally, his brilliant brain begins to work at lightning speed, the same brain Flash Thompson has mocked so many times. And it is that same brain which quickly comes up with the answer in the nick of time. But just as Spider-Man makes a dash for freedom, the beating of a jungle drum distracts him, confusing him for a split second and making him uncertain which way to run. Then, taking advantage of Spider-Man's brief pause, Kraven attacks with the speed of a savage panther. And with said attack, he attaches two metal bracelets that will give the webhead a certain headache thanks to the magnetic attraction they share. They're trying desperately to pull his wrist and ankle together. So not only must he face Kraven the Hunter, the most dangerous hunter of all, he must also make sure the bracelets don't connect even as they get stronger with each passing second. Spider-Man tries to buy himself some time as he creates some distance between himself and his deadly foe. He runs and leaps as fast as he can, dodging all of Kraven's hidden traps. Then, with some quick thinking, he finally disables the magnetic pull of the bracelets. Suddenly though, his spider sense begins to blare. Someone is behind those hedges, and so without wasting a moment more, he jumps after his target. He believes he's got the jump on Kraven, but he soon realizes that he instead captured his very first supervillain, the Chameleon. The Chameleon though warns Spidey about Kraven. He lets him know that this is far from over, and that by the end of the night, victory shall be in the name of the Chameleon. And not far away from that very spot, The real Kraven the Hunter continues his search for Spider-Man, until suddenly the bright menacing spider signal shines down upon him. Spider-Man throws the chameleon's disguise onto the ground. Then, needing to come up with a new plan, Kraven the Hunter runs into the woods. But as he tries to escape the amazing Spider-Man, it seems no part of this jungle is safe from his incredible spider signal. The tables have turned. It is now the Hunter being the hunted. Then, in a last-ditch effort, Kraven lunges at Spider-Man to resume their battle. The two go back and forth, with Spider-Man quickly gaining the advantage. Kraven is scared. The Great Hunter is reduced to the prey he's so easily captured before, but as he tries to escape yet again, this time it backfires completely. Because unbeknown to him, Spider-Man already anticipated this outcome, and so he webbed up a trap of his own, one that ends the hunt for now. Eventually, the police arrive and arrest the chameleon and Kraven. All the while, Spider-Man secretly takes pictures for J. Jonah Jameson. Jonah is over the moon about the photos. Peter is well and truly back in the good books with his boss, but sadly less could be said about him and Betty Brant. Even when he finds out that Anna Watson's niece couldn't make it to the blind date, he's already missed his chance with Betty and even Liz Allen. And so our story ends, with Kraven the Hunter and the chameleon being deported back to their native country, all the while Spider-Man stands upon the pier, trying to forget about the girl he wishes he could have. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a while. Welcome all back to another episode of Comics from the Stash. The room is back to being a bit more respectable in its current state. It's been a bit of a mess recently, and I've worked very hard to just get everything set up and some new displays as well. But yeah, so with it all cleaned up, it is time to show you some more comics from my very own collection. This time, we're going over some Kraven the Hunter covers. There's not really a whole lot from ASM from what I can recall when I was looking through. I am missing his first appearance, but besides that, pretty much got all of his appearances in ASM, which is, you know, pretty impressive, I guess. But to start off, we got a Steve Ditko classic here. It is from The Amazing Spider-Man issue 34. Brilliant Steve Ditko cover. I love the way he's drawn Spidey here. Even the inking was done really well. Now, it's not necessarily a favorite of mine, but just more so a cover that stands out from ASM that has Kraven in it. It is ASM issue 104. Then we got one from Kraven's Last Hunt. This is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 293. Now, I really love this cover. It is John Romita Sr., pretty much in his prime for Spidey. It is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 47. Then for the last one, we have another Kraven's Last Hunt issue, but this is perhaps my second favorite cover from that story. The other one was when Peter was crawling out of the grave, but I don't own that one, and it doesn't have Kraven in the cover. This one, though, is issue 294 of The Amazing Spider-Man. But that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, because here, any support means so much. And yeah, thank you guys again for watching, and see you in the next one.